Welcome to the Ultimate Claude Certified Architect Foundations Exam Masterclass. I've earned 30+ certifications, and I'm here to guide you to success on your exam. This PDF in the description is your shortcut. Use these strategies wisely and crack your exam in one go. Revise this PDF 2 to 3 times, and you'll feel the difference in your confidence. Let's jump straight into the most important questions for your success. Question 1. After the web search agent and document analysis agent complete their tasks, the coordinator invokes the synthesis agent. However, the synthesis agent responds that it cannot complete the task because no research findings were provided. What is the most likely cause of this issue? A. The synthesis agent needs tools that can fetch results directly from the other agent's conversation histories. B. The synthesis agent's context window is not large enough to hold the combined outputs from both previous agents. C. The subagents need to share a single API connection to enable automatic context sharing between invocations. D. The coordinator did not include the outputs from the previous agents in the synthesis agent's prompt. Correct answer: D. The coordinator did not include the outputs from the previous agents in the synthesis agent's prompt. Explanation: subagents do not automatically inherit outputs from previous agents. The coordinator must explicitly pass research findings into the synthesis prompt. Question 2. When researching renewable energy adoption, the web search agent returns recent statistics: 2024 35% adoption, while the document analysis agent extracts data from internal reports: 2022 18% adoption. The synthesis agent incorrectly flags these as contradictory sources rather than recognizing the data shows growth over time. What change would best enable the synthesis agent to correctly interpret such temporal differences? A. Require subagents to include publication or data collection dates in their structured outputs. B. Instruct the synthesis agent to always treat the most recent data as authoritative and place older findings in a separate historical appendix. C. Add a conflict resolution agent that automatically discards older data when newer data exists for the same metric. D. Configure the web search agent to only return results from the past 6 months. Correct answer: A. Require subagents to include publication or data collection dates in their structured outputs. Explanation: dates provide important temporal context for interpreting information correctly. The synthesis agent can then recognize trends instead of contradictions. Question 3. Your agent is handling a billing dispute. After calling get_customer and lookup_order, it identifies that the dispute involves a promotional pricing error requiring manager approval, beyond the agent's authorization level. How should the workflow handle this mid-process escalation? A. Persist the complete conversation and tool response history to a database, then call escalate_to_human with a reference ID. B. Call escalate_to_human passing only the customer's original message. C. Attempt the refund with process_refund anyway, escalating only if the system rejects the transaction. D. Compile a structured handoff with customer details, order info, and the identified issue before calling escalate_to_human. Correct answer: D. Compile a structured handoff with customer details, order info, and the identified issue before calling escalate_to_human. Explanation: human escalation should include all relevant workflow information clearly. Structured handoffs reduce delays and improve support team efficiency. Question 4. Your extraction pipeline processes contracts that frequently include amendments. When a contract contains both original terms and later amendments, e.g., original clause specifies 30-day payment terms, while Amendment 1 changes this to 45 days, the model inconsistently extracts one value or the other with no indication of which applies. What's the most effective approach to improve extraction accuracy for documents with amendments? A. Pre-process documents with a classifier that identifies and removes superseded sections before the main extraction step. B. Implement post-extraction validation using pattern matching to detect amendments, and flag those extractions for manual review. C. Redesign the schema so amended fields capture multiple values, each with source location and effective date. D. Add prompt instructions to always extract the most recent amendment value and ignore superseded original terms. Correct answer. C. Redesign the schema so amended fields capture multiple values, each with source location and effective date. Explanation. Contracts with amendments require preserving historical and updated values. Including source locations and dates improves traceability and extraction accuracy. Question 5. Your system must extract event details from calendar invitations and output JSON that strictly conforms to a schema with fields for title, date, time, location, and attendees. Downstream, reject any malformed or nonconformant JSON. What approach provides the most reliable schema compliance? A. Define a tool with your target schema as input parameters and have Claude call it with the extracted data. B. Prefill Claude's response with an opening brace to force JSON output, then complete and parse the response. C. Append instructions like output only valid JSON matching the schema exactly, and implement retry logic to reprompt when JSON parsing fails. D. Include detailed JSON formatting instructions and the target schema in your prompt, then parse Claude's text response as JSON. Correct answer. A. Define a tool with your target schema as input parameters and have Claude call it with the extracted data. Explanation. Tool schemas enforce strict parameter validation automatically. This approach provides the highest reliability for structured JSON outputs. Question 6. When analyzing complex legal cases that cite multiple precedents, the document analysis subagent processes each sequentially. A landmark case citing 12 precedents takes over 3 minutes to analyze completely. What's the most effective way to reduce this latency while preserving the coordinator's ability to monitor and debug the system? A. Enable the document analysis subagent to spawn its own specialized subagents dynamically when it encounters cases with many citations. B. Implement a message queue where precedent analysis tasks are processed asynchronously by a pool of worker agents. C. Create a recursive agent hierarchy where analysis agents subdivide work among child agents until reading single precedent granularity. D. Have the coordinator spawn parallel document analysis subagents, each handling a subset of precedents, then aggregate results before synthesis. Correct answer. D. Have the coordinator spawn parallel document analysis subagents, each handling a subset of precedents, then aggregate results before synthesis. Explanation. Parallel processing reduces overall analysis latency significantly. The coordinator still maintains visibility and centralized orchestration control. Question 7. Your update_user_profile tool accepts a user_ID, required, and an optional fields_to_update object. In testing, Claude frequently omits user_ID or passes incorrectly structured data. What is most critical for helping Claude understand what parameter values to provide? A. Clear parameter descriptions explaining expected format, such as user_ID, UUID of the user to update, required. B. Verbose parameter names encoding format hints, such as user_ID_string_UUID_format. C. Strict JSON schema type constraints marking user_ID as required and defining fields_to_update as an object type. D. Detailed error responses explaining why invalid parameter values were rejected. Correct answer. A. Clear parameter descriptions explaining expected format, such as user_ID, UUID of the user to update, required. Explanation. Clear descriptions help the model understand parameter expectations correctly. Well-defined formats reduce missing or incorrectly structured tool inputs. Question 8. Your system has been operating with 100% human review for 3 months. Analysis shows that extractions with model confidence greater than 90% have 97% accuracy overall. To reduce reviewer workload, you plan to automate high-confidence extractions. Before deploying, what validation step is most critical? A. Verify that 97% accuracy meets requirements for all downstream systems that consume the extracted data. B. Analyze accuracy by document type and field to verify high-confidence extractions perform consistently across all segments, not just in aggregate. C. Compare accuracy at different confidence thresholds, 85%, 90%, 95%, to find the optimal cutoff that maximizes automation while minimizing errors. D. Run a 2-week pilot routing 25% of high-confidence extractions directly to downstream systems and monitor error reports. Correct answer, B. Analyze accuracy by document type and field to verify high-confidence extractions perform consistently across all segments, not just in aggregate. Explanation: aggregate accuracy can hide weak performance in specific categories. Segment-level analysis ensures automation is reliable across all document types. Question 9. After the web search agent and document analysis agent complete their tasks, the coordinator invokes the synthesis agent. However, the synthesis agent responds that it cannot complete the task because no research findings were provided. What is the most likely cause of this issue? A. The synthesis agent needs tools that can fetch results directly from the other agent's conversation histories. B. The synthesis agent's context window is not large enough to hold the combined outputs from both previous agents. C. The subagents need to share a single API connection to enable automatic context sharing between invocations. D. The coordinator did not include the outputs from the previous agents in the synthesis agent's prompt. Correct answer, D. The coordinator did not include the outputs from the previous agents in the synthesis agent's prompt. Explanation: subagents do not automatically inherit outputs from previous agents. The coordinator must explicitly pass research findings into the synthesis prompt. Question 10. Users report that responses feel repetitive across turns. Each message begins with phrases like, "Certainly," or "I'd be happy to help," even deep into conversations. You want responses to feel more natural, without these repetitive openers. What's the most effective approach? A. Implement post-processing to detect and strip common greeting phrases from response beginnings. B. Add system prompt instructions specifying phrases to avoid, such as, "Never begin responses with certainly or similar affirmations." C. Lower the temperature parameter to make response openings more deterministic and less variable. D. Append a partial assistant message with a direct response opening that the model will continue from. Correct answer, D. Append a partial assistant message with a direct response opening that the model will continue from. Explanation: pre-filling the assistant response guides the model's continuation style naturally. This avoids repetitive greetings without relying on rigid filtering rules. Question 11. After the web search and document analysis subagents complete their tasks, the coordinator needs to spawn the synthesis subagent to synthesize the findings. What is the correct approach for providing the synthesis subagent with the information it needs? A. Provide the subagent with tool definitions that allow it to request outputs from other subagents via callbacks. B. Include the complete findings from both subagents directly in the synthesis subagent's prompt. C. Pass reference identifiers and configure the subagent with read access to a shared memory store where other subagents deposited their results. D. Spawn the subagent with only a brief task description, relying on automatic context inheritance from the coordinator. Correct answer, C. Pass reference identifiers and configure the subagent with read access to a shared memory store where other subagents deposited their results. Explanation: shared memory storage enables efficient retrieval of previous agent outputs. The synthesis agent can access findings without large prompt duplication. Question 12. Monitoring shows 12% of extractions fall pydantic validation with specific errors like expected float for quantity, got 2 to 3. Retrying these requests without modification produces failures. What's the most effective approach to recover from these validation failures? A. Set temperature to 0 to eliminate output variability and ensure consistent formatting. B. Send a follow-up request including the validation error, asking the model to correct its output. C. Pre-process source documents to standardize problematic formats before sending them for extraction. D. Implement a secondary pipeline using a larger model tier to reprocess documents that fail validation. Correct answer, B. Send a follow-up request including the validation error, asking the model to correct its output. Explanation: validation feedback helps the model understand the exact formatting issue. Targeted retries are more effective than repeating the same request unchanged. Question 13. Your search products tool queries an external catalog API that returns paginated results, 50 items per request. Production logs show queries frequently match 200 plus products, and a design that auto-fetches all pages causes 15 to 20 second delays. How should you redesign the pagination handling? A. Create separate search products and fetch more results tools for pagination. B. Implement server-side relevance ranking and return only the top 50 most relevant items. C. Add a max pages parameter, default, 2, that controls how many pages are fetched internally. D. Return the first page with total match count and cursor for additional pages. Correct answer, D. Return the first page with total match count and cursor for additional pages. Explanation: returning cursors supports efficient pagination without long response delays. The agent can request more results only when additional pages are needed. Question 14. Your search flights tool calls an external airline API that occasionally returns a 503 service unavailable error. What is the most effective way to handle this error in your tool implementation? A. Return an empty flight list as if the search succeeded but found no matching flights. B. Log the error internally and return an empty response, letting the model continue without the flight data. C. Return an error message in the tool result explaining the service is temporarily unavailable. D. Automatically retry the request up to 5 times with exponential backoff before returning results to the agent. Correct answer, D. Automatically retry the request up to 5 times with exponential backoff before returning results to the agent. Explanation: exponential backoff handles temporary service outages more reliably. Retries reduce failures caused by short-lived external API interruptions. Question 15. A new user's first message is, "Set up my focus music." This could mean configure preferences, create a playlist, or play music immediately. Your system supports all 3 actions. What's the effective approach? A. Create a new focus playlist with curated tracks and notify the user it's ready. B. Ask one clarifying question about action type, play now or configure for later. C. Play popular focus tracks immediately and let the user redirect if needed. D. Start preference configuration by asking about genres, tempos, and artists they prefer for focus. Correct answer, B. Ask one clarifying question about action type, play now or configure for later. Explanation: the request is ambiguous and supports multiple valid interpretations. A single clarifying question avoids incorrect assumptions and improves user experience. Question 16. Your documents query tool returns results as found 3 documents, Q2 budget proposal, Q2 budget forecast, annual review. You want the agent to document 4 multi and doc 24 multi. What return format would best enable these multi-step workflows? A. URLs that users can click to open the document in their browser. B. Structured data containing document IDs and metadata for each result. C. A JSON array of document titles extracted from the search results. D. More detailed human-readable descriptions including the size and authors. Correct answer. B. Structured data containing document IDs and metadata for each result. Explanation. Structured metadata enables reliable chaining into downstream workflows. Document IDs help agents reference and retrieve documents accurately. Question 17. During initial testing, you notice that Claude doesn't seem to remember vocabulary words from earlier in the conversation. When a student asks, "Can you quiz me on those words?" responds as if no words have been discussed. What is the most likely explanation? A. Your system prompt needs explicit instructions telling Claude to remember information from earlier turns. B. You're not including prior messages in each API request. The stateless API doesn't retain conversation history. C. You need to enable conversation persistence by passing a session ID parameter with each API call. D. The model's context window has filled up, causing earlier conversation content to be dropped. Correct answer. B. You're not including prior messages in each API request. The stateless API doesn't retain conversation history. Explanation. API models are stateless and do not remember previous requests automatically. Conversation history must be included in each API call for continuity. Question 18. Performance analysis reveals your context is composed of accumulated RAG results from all previous queries, which is crowding out conversation history and causing coherence degradation after 15+ turns. Which approach best addresses this issue? A. Implement semantic deduplication to identify and remove redundant information across the accumulated RAG results and conversation turns. B. Implement a sliding window for RAG results from the last 2 to 3 queries while preserving conversation history. C. Shift context budget to favor RAG results while reducing conversation history allocation. D. Compress all RAG results into a consolidated summary document that updates incrementally after each retrieval. Correct answer. B. Implement a sliding window for RAG results from the last 2 to 3 queries while preserving conversation history. Explanation. Sliding windows prevent older retrieval data from overcrowding context. This preserves conversation coherence while keeping recent RAG information relevant. Question 19. Your extraction system implements automatic retries when validation fails. On each retry, the specific validation error is appended to the prompt. This retry with error feedback approach resolves most failures within 2 to 3 attempts. For which failure pattern would additional retries be least effective? A. The model extracts et al. For co-authors when the full list exists only in an external document, not in the input. B. The model extracts citation counts as locale formatted strings. 1234. When the schema requires integers. C. The model extracts dates as ISO 8601 datetime strings, March 15, 2003 T0 seconds Z. When the schema requires only the date portion, YYYYMMDD. D. The model extracts keywords as a nested object organized by category when the schema requires a flat array of strings. Correct answer. A. The model extracts et al. For co-authors when the full list exists only in an external document, not in the input. Explanation. Retries cannot recover information missing from the provided input context. The required co-author data does not exist in the source document. Question 20. When the agent calls lookup_order and receives order details showing the item was purchased 45 days ago, how does the agentic loop determine whether to call process_refund or escalate_to_human next? A. The agent executes the remaining steps in a tool sequence planned at the start of the request. B. The order details are added to the conversation and the model reasons about which action to take. C. The agent follows a preconfigured decision tree mapping order attributes to specific tool calls. D. The orchestration layer automatically routes to the next tool based on the order status field. Correct answer, B. The order details are added to the conversation and the model reasons about which action to take. Explanation. Agentic workflows rely on iterative reasoning after each tool response. The model decides the next action based on updated conversational context. Please revise full PDF 2 to 3 times for 100% success. Check the description for the PDF download link and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for upcoming episodes. Thank you.